The first time humans inhaled smoke, they probably weren't looking for pleasure. They were standing dangerously close to death. Thousands of years ago, beneath a dark, prehistoric sky, our ancestors gathered around a fire. The flames danced. The wood cracked. The air filled with a strange, invisible force. Smoke. Some people moved away. Some coughed. But someone stayed. Someone watched the gray cloud rise into the night. And someone wondered, what happens if we breathe it in? That moment may have been one of the quietest turning points in human history. Because smoke was never just smoke. It was something humans could see, but never hold. Something created by destruction, yet connected with life. Something that disappeared into the sky, as if it carried a message beyond the human world. Long before cigarettes existed, before tobacco became a global product, humans were already fascinated by smoke. The story of smoking does not begin with a factory. It begins with fire. Fire transformed humanity. It gave us cooked food. It gave us warmth. It allowed our brains to receive more energy and expand over generations. But fire gave us something else, a mystery. Smoke. For early humans, smell was survival. A strange scent could mean danger. A familiar scent could mean food. Every burning plant released a different chemical signature, and our ancestors learned to observe them. Leaves, roots, bark, resins. Some plants produced smoke that created unusual sensations inside the body. A feeling of calm, a sense of excitement, a temporary escape from ordinary reality. And that discovery revealed something fundamental about human nature. We have always searched for ways to change how we feel, not because ancient humans were irrational, but because the human brain itself is built to explore. Our minds reward curiosity. They reward discovery. They reward anything that creates a powerful experience. This same instinct helped humans survive. It pushed us to explore new lands, discover new foods, create new tools, but it also created a weakness. The human brain does not always understand the difference between something that feels good and something that is good for us. A sweet fruit, a warm fire, a powerful sensation. The brain remembers them all, and sometimes it remembers the wrong things. Thousands of years before modern medicine understood addiction, humans had already discovered a dangerous truth. A brief moment of pleasure can leave a permanent mark. Ancient people did not know about chemistry. They did not understand the invisible compounds inside plants. They did not know certain substances could influence the nervous system. They only knew one thing. Some smoke felt different. Some smoke changed the mind. Some smoke created an experience that ordinary life could not provide. And once humans discovered that, smoke began to transform. It was no longer just a product of fire. It became a symbol, a connection between the visible world and the invisible one. Across ancient cultures, smoke slowly gained a deeper meaning. It could represent communication. It could represent purification. It could represent a bridge between humans and forces beyond their understanding. But the most fascinating part is not the smoke itself. It is why humans needed it. Because behind a very ancient ritual, there was a very human fear. Fear of death. Fear of uncertainty. Fear of a world that could not be controlled. When humans could not explain something, they gave it meaning. Lightning became the anger of gods. The sun became a divine force. And smoke became a pathway between worlds. This pattern still exists today. Humans do not only consume objects. We consume stories. We do not only chase substances. We chase meanings. A simple action becomes powerful when it represents something larger. Freedom, strength, belonging, escape. That is why the history of smoking is not only a story about plants. It is a story about the human mind. Because the most powerful things in history are often not the things that change our bodies. They are the things that change how we see ourselves. Thousands of years later, when people light a cigarette, they may believe they are making a personal choice. But deep beneath that action is an ancient human instinct that began around the first fires. The desire to escape, the desire to connect, the desire to feel something beyond ordinary life. Smoke has followed humanity for thousands of years. But the deeper question is not when humans first started smoking. The deeper question is, why have humans always been searching for something to inhale, something to believe in, and something to help them escape themselves? Smoke was once not a habit. It was a language humans believed could reach places they could not. Thousands of years ago, when our ancestors watched smoke disappear into the sky, they were not simply watching a physical reaction. They were watching a mystery. The smoke moved upward. It vanished into the clouds. It escaped the limits of the human world. And to ancient minds, anything that crossed the boundary between earth and sky carried special meaning. Smoke became a messenger, a bridge, a connection between humans and the unknown. This is why, in many ancient civilizations, smoke was never treated as ordinary. It was sacred. It appeared in ceremonies. It surrounded spiritual leaders. It became part of rituals designed to communicate with forces beyond human control. Ancient people did not have modern science to explain altered states of consciousness. They did not know how certain plants affected the brain. They did not understand the chemistry behind their experiences, but they understood the feeling. Smoke could change perception. Smoke could create a sense of connection. Smoke could make a person feel closer to something larger than themselves. And that feeling was powerful. Because humans have always struggled with one question. Are we alone in this world? For thousands of years, we have searched for answers. Through religion, through philosophy, through rituals, through symbols. Smoke became one of those symbols. But there is something deeper happening beneath these ancient traditions. The human brain is designed to create meaning. We do not simply experience the world. We interpret it. A flame is not just heat. It can become a symbol of life. A river is not just moving water. It can become a symbol of time. And smoke is not just particles floating in the air. It can become a symbol of transformation. This ability made humans powerful. It allowed us to create civilizations, art, and culture. But it also created a vulnerability. Because once something gains meaning, we stop seeing it as just a thing. We start seeing it as part of who we are. This is why many human behaviors are difficult to change. People do not only defend their habits, they defend their identities. Smoking is a perfect example. A person rarely becomes attached to smoke because of the taste. The first experience is often unpleasant. The throat burns. The body rejects it. The instinctive reaction is to stop. But then something changes. The cigarette becomes connected with a moment, a conversation, a group, a feeling, a certain image of adulthood, a symbol of confidence, a symbol of rebellion, a symbol of belonging. The object itself becomes less important. The meaning becomes everything. And this is one of the oldest patterns in human history. We do not only use things. Things become part of our stories. Ancient priests used smoke because they believed it connected them to another world. Modern people use smoke because they believe it helps them connect with themselves, with others, or with a certain version of who they want to be. Different time periods, different beliefs, but the same human desire. The need to escape ordinary reality. The need to feel connected. The need to believe that a simple action carries a deeper purpose. This is why smoke has survived across civilizations. It adapted. It changed its role. but it continued to satisfy something ancient inside the human mind. The most powerful forces in society are rarely purely physical. They are psychological. A substance can affect the body, but a symbol can control behavior. And history has shown us again and again. When humans believe something represents freedom, they rarely notice when it begins to control them. When humans believe something represents power, they rarely admit when they become dependent on it. This is the hidden paradox of smoke. It can make people feel independent while creating attachment. It can represent escape while creating a new form of limitation. It can feel like a personal choice while being shaped by thousands of years of human psychology. The ancient world looked at smoke rising toward the heavens and saw a path to the gods. The modern world looks at smoke rising from a cigarette and sees a personal decision. But beneath both images is the same human question. Are we controlling the things we choose? Or are some things simply better at controlling us? Because the history of smoking is not only the history of a plant, it is the history of a weakness. A weakness hidden inside one of humanity's greatest abilities. Our ability to give meaning to everything around us. The moment smoke truly changed humanity was not when humans discovered fire. It was when the human brain learned to remember it. Our brains are ancient survival machines. For millions of years, they evolved to answer one simple question. What should we do again? Eat something nutritious. Remember it. Find shelter. Remember it. Escape danger. Remember it. The brain rewards behaviors that help us survive. But this system has a hidden weakness. The brain does not always understand the difference between something that feels good and something that keeps us alive. It only understands signals. A pleasant feeling. A powerful sensation. A moment of relief. The brain records them, and it wants them again. This is where certain plants discovered a way into the human mind. Tobacco was not powerful because it was mysterious. It was powerful because it interacted with one of the deepest systems inside us. The reward system. When certain chemicals from tobacco enter the body, they influence the brain's signals. A brief sense of calm. A temporary feeling of focus. A small moment of satisfaction. The effect may disappear quickly, but the memory remains. The brain whispers, "Remember that feeling. Find it again." And slowly, a connection is created. A cycle begins. This is not simply a story about weak willpower. It is a story about biology. The same brain that helped humans survive the wilderness can also become vulnerable to modern temptations. Evolution built us for a world of scarcity. A world where finding pleasure quickly could mean survival. But humans eventually created a world filled with endless stimulation. The ancient brain remained. The environment changed. And that mismatch created new problems. Smoking became powerful because it combined chemistry with psychology. The body received a signal, but the mind created a meaning. For many people, smoking is not only about the substance. It is about the moment. A stressful day, a lonely night, a difficult conversation, a moment when life feels overwhelming. The cigarette becomes a small ritual, a pause button, a temporary escape. Fire appears. Smoke rises. The world slows down for a few seconds. And in that short moment, the person feels control. That is the hidden strength of smoking. It does not only enter the lungs. It enters emotions. It attaches itself to memories. It becomes connected with comfort, with identity, with routine. And that is why human habits are so difficult to change. Because we are not only fighting a chemical reaction, we are fighting a story the brain has repeated many times. This pattern existed long before modern cigarettes. Humans have always searched for shortcuts to change how they feel. Ancient people searched through plants and rituals. During people search through countless forms of stimulation. The object changes. The desire remains. We want relief from pain. We want silence from anxiety. We want a moment where the noise of life disappears. Smoke became one answer, but it was never the only answer. The tragedy is that something designed to provide comfort can eventually become the source of another struggle. A solution can become a problem. A choice can become a chain. And this is where tobacco entered a new era. It stopped being only a cultural practice. It became a global industry. A substance at once existed around small fires and ancient ceremonies began traveling across continents. It became packaged, marketed, sold. The smoke that once belonged to rituals became connected with commerce. And this changed everything. Because in the past, humans searched for tobacco. Now tobacco began searching for humans. It entered advertisements. It entered popular culture. It entered images of success, confidence, and independence. The most powerful transformation was not chemical. It was psychological. People were no longer simply inhaling smoke. They were inhaling an idea, an image of who they wanted to become. And that reveals something uncomfortable about human nature. We like to believe we make decisions based on logic. But many of our choices begin somewhere deeper. In our emotions, in our memories, in our desire to belong. The greatest battles in human history are not always fought between people. Sometimes they are fought inside the human mind. Between what we know and what we want. Between the future we understand and the feeling we crave right now. Smoke exposed that battle thousands of years ago. And we are still fighting it today. We believe we choose smoke. But sometimes, smoke chooses the most vulnerable parts of us. When tobacco moved from ancient rituals into the modern world, it experienced a transformation unlike almost anything else in human history. It was no longer only a plant. It became an idea, a symbol, a companion, a habit deeply connected to human emotion. For thousands of years, smoke survived because it adapted to our needs. Ancient people used it to communicate with the unknown. Later generations used it to express identity. And modern society turned it into something even more powerful. A product designed to fit into everyday life. This is what made tobacco different. It did not only affect the body. It entered human behavior. It entered social relationships. It entered the way people understood relaxation, confidence, and freedom. Think about the moment when someone reaches for a cigarette. Often, they already know the risks. They know the warnings. They know the possible consequences. But knowledge alone does not always defeat desire. Because humans are not machines making perfect calculations. We are emotional creatures trying to survive each day. When life becomes overwhelming, we search for something simple, something predictable, something we can control. Lighting a cigarette takes only a few seconds. A flame, a breath, a cloud of smoke, a temporary escape from a complicated world. And that feeling connects modern humans with their ancient ancestors. Thousands of years ago, people gathered around fires because fire created safety. Today, people gather around smoke because smoke creates a moment of comfort. The environment changed. The human need remained. But this reveals a deeper truth about evolution. The human brain was not designed for the modern world. It was shaped in a world where survival depended on immediate science. Find food. Avoid danger. Seek comfort. Protect the group. Those instincts helped our ancestors survive. But the same instincts can make us vulnerable. Our brains are excellent at chasing immediate rewards. They are much worse at feeling the weight of distant consequences. A pleasure today feels real. A risk years later feels abstract. And this is why so many human struggles exist. not because we lack intelligence, but because intelligence and instinct often pull in different directions. We can understand something is harmful and still want it. We can know a habit controls us and still defend it. We can believe we are choosing freely, while our choices are being shaped by invisible forces. This lesson extends far beyond tobacco. Every generation creates new forms of temptation, new ways to capture attention, new ways to provide instant satisfaction. The object changes. The human weakness remains. Because the real story of smoking was never only about a plant. It was about a question that has followed humanity since the first fire. Can we control the things that give us comfort? Or do we eventually become controlled by them? Smoke has traveled a long journey, from ancient caves, to sacred ceremonies, to crowded cities, to the hands of millions of people around the world. It has carried prayers. It has carried advertisements. It has carried memories. But behind every cloud of smoke was the same human desire. The desire to escape pain. The desire to feel connected. The desire to experience something beyond ordinary life. Perhaps the most surprising discovery is not that humans started smoking thousands of years ago. The surprising discovery is that the reason has barely changed. We still search for moments of relief. We still create rituals to calm our fears. We still look for something that can make an uncontrollable world feel manageable. Smoke simply became one of humanity's oldest answers. But every answer comes with a question. If we spend our lives searching for things that make us feel free, how often do we stop and ask whether they are truly freeing us? The smoke rising from ancient fires has disappeared into history. The smoke from modern cigarettes will eventually disappear too. But the human desire that created it remains. Because the greatest mystery was never the smoke. The greatest mystery was always the person standing beneath it. Us.